Welcome to the Q&A with Juan. I hope you guys had a really good Christmas break. I really enjoyed it together with my family. Hope you guys did as well. And thank you for sending in all the questions. Really appreciate it. I appreciate it. The We Talk crew appreciates it. I have a couple of questions that I will answer today. Not all of them. We had a lot of questions, but if I would answer all the questions, it will take more than an hour. So I'll select a few and I will go over them right now. To start off with Roy. Thank you for the questions, Roy. Looking at the squad depth of Ajax, what positions would you strengthen this transfer window or the next? Good question. I think it depends where you look at. You know, one of the vulnerable areas at Ajax this season seems to be the defense. Blind and Schuur seems to be an issue. You can talk about a couple of things, you know, why this is an issue. Maybe the balance between both of them is not good enough. Maybe they're too similar. Maybe they're too slow, they lack speed. Maybe they don't have the physical capabilities, etc. Now, the thing is that what really strikes me as very interesting is that we have Timber, who is from the youth academy. However, he's injured. And you cannot really rely on him this season to be going for the full season. So, and should you make a switch? I mean, let's be honest as well. It's Schuur's first season, right? And I know at Ajax, we're very critical all the time. We think players that fit in the Ajax squad, they have to be good at one go. Schuur has been making a couple of mistakes. And not only him, we have to be honest. He has a veteran next to him. He has Blind next to him. And Blind is making a couple of mistakes too. Blind is not having defensively his best season. I think since he came to Ajax, this might be his weakest start of the season, especially this last 6 months. So, in my opinion, looking at the squad as a whole, I think defensively, we have to tighten up. We have to strengthen. Now, the thing that interests me a little bit is the Alvarez situation. The Alvarez situation, all of us are already saying, no, he's not worth it. He's not Ajax material. We paid a lot of money for him, 50 million. But he's being misused in the midfield. I don't think, honestly, he's a midfielder. I think he's more a defender. In everything he does, he looks like a defender. However, I think Ten Hag also thinks he doesn't want to put Blind and Alvarez next to each other because then he has two center backs who really lack speed. I mean, Schuur doesn't lack the speed that Alvarez does. However, I think Alvarez compensates a lot. I think he has a more defensive threat than Blind and Schuur both. I think he's good in heading the ball. I also think he has a good vision. However, you don't have a perfect CB at the moment. And that's my main concern. I think Timber is a very good Ajax type of player. He is defensive. He is very strong. He's very fast as well. But then you have two players that lack, aerial threat, basically. So if you look at all the options we have as a center back, we don't have an ideal combination. And I think because there are rumors about Alvarez maybe leaving because he's not happy at Ajax because of his family situation, not playing a lot, and also Valencia came for him. If the rumors are true and we can get some money for him, then I will swap Alvarez for another very promising and good central defender. Okay, so I got two more questions I want to answer from Roy. First question is, which players would you let go this or the next transfer window? I would let go if possible, if the rumors are true about Alvarez, like I said before. I would let him go. I think Alvarez has more potential, but not at Ajax. I think Ajax plays at a certain level in a certain way that doesn't really fit his strength. I think if he would sit back a little bit more in a more defensive type of team, he would be a much more valuable asset to the team. But again, we paid top dollar for him. We paid 15 million for him. I don't know in the Corona time whether there are teams that will pay that amount of money. Should we take enough with the losses that we get? Maybe sell him for 10 million? That's something that's difficult to predict at the moment. But realistically speaking, if he doesn't play, then his value will drop even more. I think if we can sell him in the winter or in the summer, perhaps it's a good thing to do it. And not because I dislike Alvarez. Again, I think he's a wonderful addition as a player, but I don't think he fits the Ajax system. So my ideal situation would be, like I said before as well, we swap Alvarez and get another central defender in who will really compete with the central defenders that we have and which will be also complementary to Blind or Schuur. Moving on to the next question from Roy as well. It's about Ten Hag. I know he has been a bit critical about Ten Hag lately, but we'll keep it between us, Roy. Let's see. Yeah, so Every trainer, he says, most has an expiration date at a certain club. Either the tactics stop working or the chemistry disappears. How much longer do you think Ten Hag has at Ajax? I honestly don't think that Ten Hag is doing a bad job, to be honest. I mean, yes, of course, we're critical also in our podcast sometimes with the panel members. I ask a few questions and we are critical about certain choices that he makes, certain decisions, things that he does, says, etc. But that comes along with being a fan, you know? And looking at the stats and looking objectively at how Ajax is doing under his reign, I think we should be really lucky to have him as a coach. I mean, at the end of the day, in the first season, okay, he started half a season, but then the season after that, we had one of the best seasons in history. Then after that, we had the Corona break last year. Of course, we had a lot of injuries as well. And then this year, we're still having effects of the Corona, and it's not easy for the players. I think also Tayo Fico mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, that it's hard. You've been off for a couple of months, and then you have to start in a very crowded and busy schedule and play. I think the situation around this league and for Ajax at the moment is something they're not familiar with, and they're trying to cope with it at the moment. At the same time, you see Ten Hag also learning a little bit from last year. Last year, we would criticize him for not making a lot of substitutions and playing players a lot, which backfired, and we had a lot of injuries, and that cost us also many points in the league. This season, he is a little bit more flexible in the sense that he switches a lot with the players a little bit more. I mean, the changes that he does, we don't always agree with him. I mean, one of the things is, for me, I would of course choose always Ekkelenkamp above Labiat. Why? Because I think Ekkelenkamp is a youth product. I think Ekkelenkamp has more potential than Labiat, so that would be my choice. But again, if you look at the choices that Ten Hag does, that's my criticism basically. But as a coach in general, how he goes about with the team, with the players, etc., how he's doing in terms of results, I think we're doing a good job. And especially if you consider the situation we're at the moment with the Corona and no fans, etc. Thomas, thank you for sending in the next question. The question is about who is the most underrated player at Ajax, and not allowed to mention Martinez because Martinez is, of course, highly rated by the fans, but it's only a choice of Ten Hag not to let him play in the squad. So taking away Martinez from the equation, I would go definitely with Traore. Traore is 19 years of age. He has a very good first half of the season, in my opinion. Too bad he got injured at the end. Now, the thing is that I see a lot of criticism on Traore that he doesn't have the full package. But again, he's a very young player. He's a talented player. He was one of the leading goal scorers at Young Ajax last year. He got also promoted by Ten Hag to showcase himself last year, but then Corona came. So we couldn't really see what he's capable of. Now that we're seeing a little bit more of him, I do see some progression. I do see he's getting better and better. And one of the best games he's played, it's not in the game against VVV, because then I would get the criticism that VVV is not really a good opponent, and he scored 5. Everybody can score 5 against VVV, which is not true, by the way. But I will go and see him at the biggest stage. The biggest stage is Atalanta. That game where he got the chance to showcase himself, he proved he's really a good addition, a good player. He has potential. He was so good at holding the ball. He was an aerial threat, both defensively and offensively. He scored a goal. He caused the penalty, which made us score the second goal as well. These kind of things are very important. And I think he has much more potential than he's showing at the moment. However, again, he's just coming to the Ajax squad. He's coming from Young Ajax, and there is a very big difference between playing for the youth or playing at the first team, at this squad. Giving a little bit more time, giving a bit more chance to evolve. I think he has what it takes. He has to be more clinical, though, in the area, in the 16-yard box. Sometimes he's maybe too nice. He holds the ball and he wants to give the ball to somebody else. Maybe he has to take more chances and shoot the ball and just score more goals. Other than that, I think he has a bright future. All right, next question. Actually, a lot of questions from Yadirenko, but Yadirenko, I just selected one question. Otherwise, again, we'll be talking all night about Ajax. What should Ajax do in the second half of the season to ensure the league title? That's a really good question. I think we have to look at a couple of things here. First of all, one of the things that we saw this first half of the season are the injuries. Kudus getting injured. Neres now getting injured as well. In the last game, Klaassen was at the end of the first half of the season was not the same player as when he just came in from Werder Bremen. So you're looking at that and you're thinking maybe Ten Hag has to do maybe a better job at managing the fatigue, of the players and making sure that they don't get injured in the second half of the season. Because although I think we have the best squad in the Eredivisie, it seems to me that the level drops a lot when one of our key players are no longer, an option of the first starting 11. Because if you go from Kudus to Labiat, with all due respect, that's a big difference. Nothing taking away from Labiat, but you know what I mean. That's one of the things. So he has to do a better rotation, in my opinion, Ten Hag. Second of all, I think he still has to find the best defensive duo. I think Blind and Schuurs are not it. I do rate them both as players, but combined, they're not the best central duo that we have, especially when we go play Europa League and also when we go play against the January AZ, Feyenoord, PSV, all these kind of teams. I think it will be very tough for both of them to really showcase themselves. And I think we're vulnerable there. Even though we have a great goalkeeper in Onana, I think it has shown that Blind and Schuurs, they made mistakes. They're not quick enough. They don't have that killer instinct as central defenders. So we have to look at something else there. So in my earlier answer, I said if we can maybe get rid of Alvarez, maybe we can get another central defender. What we can also do, we can try something else. I don't know. I'm not a favor of putting Blind in the midfield. However, Blind is good on the ball. So maybe you can put a little bit more defensive security by putting Martinez with Schuurs, with Schuurs at the back and putting Blind on the midfield. Another option is that maybe, but this is a bit far-fetched, we play a little bit differently. We play with 3 central defenders, a little bit more 3 backline. Then you have Blind, then you have Martinez, then you have Schuurs. And then our wing backs can play a little bit more further up. Because we also know that in the build-up play, Gravenberg also sits back a little bit to pick up the ball and starts the build-up play. So there are a couple of things he can look at. But in my opinion, the most important thing are taking care of that our players are fit throughout the season. And second of all, we have to take care of our defensive line. All right, so 2 more questions I want to answer today from Hamed. Thank you for the questions, Hamed. Let's see. List 2 main and direct reasons behind our Champions League failure. And I'm not allowed to mention the bad luck and the missed chances. I think he's referring to the Liverpool game, both of them. Okay, so I'll take that out of the equation. We'll look at other stuff, why we missed the boat, as they say in Dutch. We played in a group. It was a tough group, to be honest. I mean, taking away Midtjylland, we knew that Atalanta and Liverpool had a great season last year in the Champions League. Tough opponents, both of them, very attacking, very dynamic plays as well. It was a challenge for us. Also taking into consideration, we sold Ziyech, we sold Donny van de Beek. These are really good players, and you always have to wait and see how we perform. Okay, so we had 6 games. We looked at them. So we did what we had to do, against Midtjylland. We got 6 points. That's good. So looking at Atalanta, I think we fell short. Why did we fall short? I think you have to look at them differently. The first game, I mean, honestly, we had to win that game. So why are we not winning that game? I think it's defensively. I think we were not capable of being defensive stable enough to withhold them coming back from 2-0 to 2-2. And in the Champions League, it's all about details. It's all about these kind of things. If you cannot hold a 2-0 lead, then if it's Atalanta or Liverpool or Barcelona, at the end, this might come and haunt you. So for me, that changed also very much the perspective into the group, because at the last game when we went to play Atalanta won from Liverpool. So it was a different dynamic. Atalanta actually, we were expecting, or Ten Hag was expecting them to play attacking again, but it didn't. They needed 1 point, and we actually made the wrong tactic. Our players went in, also a little bit conservative, because we thought in the last game against Atalanta that they will attack and maybe we can play a little bit more, conservative, and we only needed 1 goal. I think that was a tactical mistake that we did. Also, Ten Hag admitted that at the end. So that's one of the things. And if I look at the Liverpool game, Liverpool, both games, they were strong, they were good. But especially that first game, we had a couple of chances to score. We had to score, actually. I remember the Klaassen against the post. We had a couple of other chances as well. But we also had bad luck. Kudus getting injured in the first few minutes of the game. Nobody expected that. So if I take away the missed chances, the missed opportunities, the bad luck, I look at missing Kudus. I think Kudus could have been instrumental this season for us in the Champions League. And also if I look at the wrong tactics at the end of the game, at the end of the final game against Atalanta, I think we could have done more there. So I'm not going to blame the fact that we lost two times to Liverpool, but I'm going to blame it basically at the end against Atalanta. So that's my answer to your question. Moving on to another question that you asked, which is referring to, let me see, I have to double check again what it was. I got so many questions today, so let's see. Do you agree that Antony so far could not stand out in the big games this season? So the ones we lost. I think you're referring also to the Champions League games. And also think you're referring to Groningen, because we lost against Groningen and against Twente. Look, there are two things I want to mention here. I think Antony is doing superb. I don't feel the same way as what you're asking, or maybe other fans think. I think we all rate Antony very much. I think next to Tadic, he's the most valuable player for us this last few months. But Antony just came from Brazil. I remember, or maybe it's important also to highlight that people that come from Brazil or other parts of the world and come to live in the Netherlands, it's a culture shock. It's not that easy to get, used to the customs, the way of playing, the weather, the people, etc. So that's hard. And we saw this also with Neres. When Neres came, we paid good money for him as well. It took him almost a year, a bit less, almost a year to really fire up and start playing the way that, the scouts saw him as a potential player. So Antony actually came out from Brazil this season and he's doing a really good job. He's being very important from the get-go. So what happened? First of all, we have to take also into consideration he's 20 years of age. He's young. Young players always have these, roller coasters in terms of form. They're not stable enough to perform every game. That's something that comes along with being a youth player or a young player. So we have to also accept that. That's one. Second of all, Antony, I think, did very well at the beginning. Then he got injured a little bit. Then he came back. And the first few games, he wasn't really the same. But that's normal as well, because when you come back from an injury, you're not 100% yet. You have to come in and get back in form. So I think, honestly, that in the beginning he was better. After the injury, he dropped a little bit his level. But trust me, I really think Antony is very important to us so far this season. So that's my answer to you, Mohamed. Guys, for all other people that send us the questions as well, we got so many questions. Thank you again. We cannot answer them all, but we appreciate it. And if you would like me to answer them, maybe through Twitter or another medium, let me know. Send me a Twitter, send me a DM through We Talk Ajax, and we will have a conversation about it as well. For now, thank you so much. Enjoy your days off, and we'll see you next time. Guys, be sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, join the discussion in the comments below.